So then guys, we've just had the announcement of the brand new iPhone 17 models, including the brand new iPhone 17 Pro Max. And a lot of you guys are wondering, if you own, say, an iPhone 15 Pro Max right now, is it worth updating or upgrading to the likes of an iPhone 17 Pro Max? Because this phone is now 2 years old. Well, today what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to do a review of specs. We are going to do the iPhone 17 Pro Max versus the iPhone 15 Pro Max and see what the key differences are and if it's worth upgrading for you. And with that, let's get started with this comparison. So what we've got then, we have the iPhone 15 Pro Max then on the left, and we have the iPhone 17 Pro Max then on the right for this complete technical specification analysis or specs review, as it were. And let's just do a quick highlight page here of some of the big changes, and then we'll go more in depth in just a moment. So the iPhone 15 Pro Max, that does have a 6.7 OLED display, what's 120 Hz, whereas the iPhone 17 Pro Max has the 6.9-inch OLED 120 Hz display. Do remember that last year the iPhone 16 Pro and the 16 Pro Max, they grew a little bit in their screen size and the body's slightly bigger too. So that's why we have the 6.9. But do also remember that we now also have the likes of a 3000 nits display now, brightness display, what I'll talk about in just a moment. But material-wise, this is where things change a bit here. The iPhone 15 Pro models were the first to actually introduce the likes of titanium and glass kind of mix, but it looks like Apple have gone right back here to kind of like iPhone sort of 10 sort of time, where they've gone back to aluminum and glass, kind of a mix, or adding the glass mix in there. But aluminum's been added back in. Now there is a reason for that, why we've gone back to that material, and that's to do with that new vapor system, what we'll talk about a little bit later on. But that is why we've gone back, and obviously to make a bit more space as well for batteries and things like this. But then next of all, we actually have the chip, and we actually have the A17 Pro, and now we have the new A19 Pro, what we'll talk a little bit about in a moment, about how much more faster that is. And then we also have the RAM. The 15 Pro Max was the first to actually have 8 GB of RAM, and so was the 15 Pro. But now we have 12 GB of RAM in the 17 Pro and the 17 Pro Max. The front camera had the 12 megapixel selfie in the 15 Pro Max, and now we have that new 18 megapixel one. Effectively, it is 24 megapixels, but the way how you take your photos and everything, the different angles and shots, it is about 1.5 times bigger at 18 megapixels now. Then for video recording, we did have 4K recording on the 15 Pro Max, but the iPhone 17 Pro Max does have the new 4K RAW Log 2 ability, what's going to be fantastic for so many content creators and creators out there in making videos. Another big change is the actual battery. So we used to have a 4,441 milliamp battery in the 15 Pro Max. This has gone up by a lot now. It's now a 5,088 milliamp battery. So this is an extra 647 milliamp battery, plus all those efficiencies that we've now got in the A19 Pro, we'll talk about too. So this is giving us a phenomenal battery life. So as we can see here, the iPhone 17 Pro Max gives significant upgrades across performance, camera, and display technology. But now we're going to drill down further into this comparison. Let's start with the display and screen technology. So like I said before, we did have that 6.7 OLED. We now got the 6.9 OLED. What's the same? But we've also still got the same Pro Motion display, what's in both of these. But one of the biggest difference here is obviously the nit brightness. We've now got a 3000 nit brightness inside the 17 Pro Max. That's a 50% increase compared to what we had with the iPhone 15 Pro Max there. So yeah, that is definitely going to be fantastic to see, that obviously out in bright lights or things like this, or artificial light even shining down, what's super bright, this is really going to help. But we've also got for the material, well, obviously that's holding those glass together. It was titanium glass, and now it's aluminum and glass, or aluminium and glass, whatever you want to call it. So as you can see here, same premium OLED, that 1000 more nits brightness, and like I said, we still got that 120 Hz Pro Motion there. Now, continuing on then with that build material and construction, like we said, it's titanium and glass, and now it's aluminum or aluminium and glass. It's an older technology. You know, Apple did used to use aluminum or aluminium in the past when we actually had, say, the likes of like the iPhone 10. We even had it in the likes of, say, the iPhone 8, 7, 6. You know, I could keep going on here, but they've gone back to that now. And obviously the thickness of the phones have also changed here. The iPhone 15 Pro Max was slightly thinner, 8.25 millimeters, whereas the thickness of the iPhone 17 Pro Max is 8.7 or 8.75 now millimeters. Yeah, it's very, very little. To be honest, you won't really see much difference between it. We're actually talking here half a millimeter thickness. It is, you know, one of your hairs sort of thickness difference here. There's not much in it whatsoever. Now, obviously, the premium benefits of titanium. It is superior in strength to weight ratio, it's premium feel and durability, and also gives that thinner profile design. Whereas aluminum or aluminium is lightweight and it's good and it's cost effective on premium materials, but it is slightly thicker for enhanced features. What we have here, that we can actually fit a bigger battery, and the vapor system is really going to be helping out here, what we'll talk about in a moment. So overall, you can see here, titanium is lighter, aluminum is heavier, but obviously, you know, this is the whole thing what Apple have decided to do. They've decided to go back to aluminum, and I think it's mainly to do with cooling, as we'll talk about. So next of all then, we do have the performance and processing power. So the A17 Pro is what we used to have. That was made up of a 6-core CPU. It's 4 efficiency cores and 2 performance cores. Now the A19 Pro has exactly the same in CPU cores, but obviously they are far faster and far more efficient here. And then also with GPU cores, we used to have 5 in the A17 Pro, but we now have 6 in the A19 Pro, what's in the iPhone 17 Pro and the 17 Pro Max this time. And also we have some of those sort of new NPU enhancement cores as well for the GPU as well. This is really going to help out. We also have 8 gigabytes of RAM in the 15 Pro Max, and like I said, we have a 50% increase in RAM now in the 17 Pro Max, what is 12 gigabytes. So definitely we have superior performance. And you can even see down here that the actual CPU in the A19 Pro is 40% faster than the A17 Pro. The RAM is 50% larger now. And then the GPU is 1.5 times faster than what we had in the A17 Pro. Now, what I'll also throw in here is to do with the vapor system now. This is the cooling ability. As you can imagine, the A19 Pro gets quite toasty. And in fact, the A17 Pro, if you've got a 15 Pro Max, got quite toasty inside of it. And this is part of the reason why we've got aluminum. Aluminum can sort of get rid of heat quicker and dispense and get rid of it easier than compared to the likes of, say, the titanium. And this is why I think the big reason why Apple have gone back to that with their vapor system, and they even did explain this better inside of their event. But then for professional photography then, so it is still a great camera on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. We do have the front-facing selfie camera, what is 12 megapixel. This is now 18 megapixels this time round, so this has gone up. And then obviously the telephoto, what was on the 15 Pro Max was 12 megapixel. This is now gone up to 48 megapixels this time round. This is really going to help out with photography. And even the optical zoom now, it gives us 8 times optical zoom. That gives us a crop down at 12 times, I was 12 megapixel. It would take that photo at the optical zoom. But the main thing is it has increased that kind of same sort of 12 megapixel photo. You will now get it at 8 times compared to 5 times now on the 15 Pro Max. So you can see here we have 50% better resolutions now, or 50% more megapixels to help out with those resolutions. So this is really, really going to help out. And then obviously what we also have is that we have 8 times the telephoto power now. Well, what I'm going to say is we've got 8 times the amount of zoom capability compared to 5 times zoom capability. So this is really, really great. And obviously those megapixels now are 48 megapixels in that telephoto instead of the likes of 12, what we used to have before. But moving on then for video recording capabilities, we had some changes here as well. So what we now actually have is we have the new 4K Log 2 recording. So this is really good that we actually have this, because the ability for content creators and people doing professional videos, this is really going to help out here compared to where the 15 Pro Max doesn't have this. Also, we do have that ability of dual recording now, so we can record the front and also the rear camera at exactly the same time. So this is really going to help out. But then moving over to connectivity and to Wi-Fi, things have changed here quite a lot. We used to have the Wi-Fi 6E inside of this. It was a Qualcomm chip making this, and it was up to 2.4 gigabits per second. But now we have with the 17 Pro Max, we have the new Apple Wi-Fi 7N1 chip inside of it, and this gives us up to 6.9 gigabits per second. It's 188% faster. So this is definitely better. This is really, really good. And the great thing about this, it's all Apple integrations with this. It's more power efficient, and also there'll be more enhanced securities what Apple can do because they built this chip from the ground up to go along with iOS as well. But then moving on to thermal and battery life. Like I did say already, the battery life has gone up. We've gone from 4,441 milliamps to 5,088. This is an improvement of 647 milliamp. Combine that with that N1 chip I just talked about and the A19 Pro, you can imagine the battery life is phenomenal what we had compared. And then also MagSafe charging, we had just MagSafe 15 watts. This was just Qi 2 inside of it. Now we actually have MagSafe charging 25 watts, and that's if you use the new Apple official one, and then also Qi 2.2 MagSafe chargers, so you now be able to get these on power banks as well and third-party accessories. So this is really good. So this is definitely a great increase, a 67% increase we got there. And then as I talked about earlier, we also have the improved cooling capability. We did used to have the standard one, but now we have that new vapor chamber. What's been put inside of it was cooling down the battery for when you charge it, and also, if you're doing, your 4K recording, and then also if you're playing high games using that A19 Pro really, really far. This is really going to be helping you guys out here, and also that's why it's been mixed with aluminum too, for this reason. But as you can see here, we do have better thermal management in iOS 26, better longer battery life, and also we have that better battery upgrade too. So in summary and recommendations, is it worth the upgrade going from a 15 Pro Max to a 17 Pro Max? Well, I think it is possible, but personally, if you got a 15 Pro Max, you may get another year out of it before you want to upgrade. Don't get me wrong, you do have the likes of that 3000, nits brightness, what is definitely great. You've got the A19 Pro and the 12 gigabytes of RAM, that new cameras on the back and everything, that raw log 2 recording if you use it in dual video. Definitely the bigger battery is going to help, and also that you definitely have got aluminum, what is a bit of a trade-off over titanium, and you've also got a thinner phone on the 15 Pro Max by slightly more there, just by a tiny bit. But obviously, I am going to say there are still some good recommendations. Obviously, if you are a content creator and you do need to use that RAW log 2 dual cameras recordability, then yeah, it's worth getting this. And also, if you're a power user, that A19 Pro is going to help out. It's 40% better. But for general use, I would say personally, I wouldn't be upgrading anytime soon with this one. But overall, it's definitely a good upgrade, even compared to a phone 2 years ago. So then, in conclusion for my thoughts, I do think the iPhone 15 Pro Max is still a great phone today. And obviously, because you get things like Apple Intelligence as well still built into this, if you're actually using any of those abilities, and obviously Apple are still looking to roll out their, Siri integration, and that will probably still come out on this phone. If you do want to save money, I wouldn't be upgrading. I'd only be upgrading if, say, your contract's up and you need to upgrade, as it were, and you can afford to do that. That's the only kind of big reason I would do it. That, and also, like I talked about, those video recording features and the photography, if you really need it, and I mean really need it. I'm not talking about that you're going to use that sort of raw, log 2 kind of recording maybe once just to test it out, or like that Zoom capability because you're going to go on one vacation over the next 2 years that may use that Zoom, or for example, you may just show it off to your friends and go, look how good my Zoom is on my phone. If you're really going to use it, then I would say possibly the iPhone 17 Pro Max is definitely a good buy to get. The only other thing I can think of scenario is that, say, in your battery inside of your iPhone 15 Pro Max, if it's at 85% sort of battery, and again, that cost of, say, trading in your phone is the same as, you know, getting a new battery difference between both these phones, that would probably be my only other scenario where I would do that if you were going to get your battery changed for a new one and pay for an official one from Apple, if it does work out that way. If not, personally, I would still be sticking with my iPhone 15 Pro Max for another year. But don't get me wrong, the iPhone 17 Pro Max did show us a lot of great upgrades, and it is definitely the phone to beat at the moment. It is superb, and I do really, really like it. But on that note then, guys, what are your thoughts? Do you think it's worth upgrading for yourself if you own one of these phones to one of these? Well, let me know in the comments below. And with that as well, guys, it's time to wrap up this video too. So if you have enjoyed watching it, please do press the like button. As always, if you want to hear the latest Apple news, reviews and comparisons, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. Until next time, guys, I'll see you really soon. Take care. Bye bye.